Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to draw an eye in graphite pencil. First of all, we're going to start by drawing the outside circle for the iris. Once we have drawn this in, we can add in the central circle for the pupil. Then we're going to add a highlight section, so for where the light catches the eye. This is so that we don't fill this in when we're doing the colouring in section. Draw a line across the bottom of the pupil so that we can then draw the outside line of the eye going into the corners as shown. I'm using a mechanical pencil for this point in the drawing as it's nice and light and the point is very fine, so it works well. Add a little extra density to the top line and then draw in the eyelid. I usually put a line in the very bottom underneath here as well, as it shows us where to shade. We'll do that bit a bit later. Draw in some little lines coming out from the pupil, which shows us where to put in some extra shading later on. Be sure not to cover where the highlight section is. Add a little shaping into the very inside corner of the eye, as this drops down slightly. Fill in the pupil with some density of colour. Now start to fill in some colour around the edge of the iris. It's always darker slightly around the edge, and you don't need to be too precise with your line on this because you can keep it quite soft, which gives a more realistic look. Start to fill out some colour into the iris, just very lightly, but going out from the pupil outwards. We don't want to cover entirely all the little lines that we've put in here. We want to be able to see those through it. Keep going over the little lines here too. Now we can add a little bit of shading along that bottom line underneath the eye. This is just very lightly, it just gives it some realistic form. And do the same a little bit along the top as well with the eyelid. Here I'm using a blending tool. This just softens out that top line to give it a more realistic look, and also under the eye too. If you don't have a blending tool, you can use a cotton bud. This will work just as well. Now we need to shade the colour of the eye in. It's not actually white, although people think it's the white of the eye, it isn't white, and we need to take all the white paper out here. So I just go in very lightly, just from the outside working in. And then use the blending tool just to soften. This takes out any harsh lines that you might have. Here you'll see I've moved to a 2B pencil now. This is just to give it a little bit of extra density, and I'm going around the edge of the iris just to deepen that up. Keeping the pencil lines very soft and gentle. Deepening up the density on the pupil just to give it a nice strong colour. It's a good contrast. Now we're starting to put the beginnings of the lashes in. Notice the way that I'm drawing them in here. We almost need to give it almost a J, a letter J, whereas a little flick coming in from underneath and then flicking straight upwards. And the angles at which we just put those initial ones in and the directions that they're going in. And then once we've got the first ones in, we can just build those up. You don't want to keep them too regimented here. You want to keep them because they're quite natural and they don't always go in exactly the same direction. They're not all exactly the same. So it just needs to have a little bit of randomness about it. Just keep them starting from just under what you see as the eyelid. They don't grow straight out the top. They're actually coming from underneath. So they need to sort of have a soft, gentle flick line from underneath. And the same for the bottom ones, where they're starting not quite at the eyelid, just sort of very soft, and they're slightly smaller. So we want to keep them just gentle and soft there. Darkening up just at this bottom of the lid there, just so you can just see some more definition. And a little bit of shadow from the top eyelid as well coming down, and that goes across over the iris and the pupil just slightly. Carrying on darkening up over the iris, just adding in little detail on those lines. Using the blending tool just a little more there, just to soften. And again over the top eyelid as well. Now we're almost finished, just a little bit more working on the iris just to make sure it looks like it has some good definition in there. Now I'm just adding in just a little bit more definition on the eyelashes. Make sure they're nice and dark and they've got some nice form. I'm using a B pencil for this. I find it's just dark enough but not too thick and heavy. A little bit more detail on that top eyelid, just to give it the form. And softening that out a little more with the blending tool. Now I'm just adding a couple of reflections from the top eyelashes over the highlight on the eye. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel.